Or the cloud. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're calling in from today. My name is Austin Zuloff out here in Lexington, Kentucky. It is just a white February out here today, so I'm enjoying the snow day we're having. Lots of coffee today, good stuff. So appreciate you all for getting on. I want to deliver some really solid value today in a different way than what I normally do. Normally these motivational Zooms, I take some time the night before, maybe the morning of, and I take a couple hours to think of what's a good message that people would like to just give them that swift kick in the day, right? To get their Tuesday off to an incredible start and get their mindset, just get them fired up. And I think a lot of you all are probably motivated though. I think after talking with a lot of people that are on this Zoom, I think a lot of you guys are fired up already. I think that we've got some really good culture here started. And I think at this point, you want to know not only how to get that extra vibe, that extra energy, that fire in your belly. You want to not only know how to do that, but you want to know what does a life and what does a day in the life of a professional in this field look like? What does that look like? So I took a poll in the Zealous Official Facebook group to see what is it that people want training on the most. And actually, Brandy, she made the new suggestion, like daily method of operations. And so I sat down and I really thought about this. What do you need to know to really to get you started and to get you moving along and to get you to the first few ranks and to get you duplicating? What do you need to know? How can I communicate that in 10, 15 minutes? And so I distilled it down to what I'm going to call the 5 essentials today. Okay. So this is what I'm going to give to you, and I'm gonna close it out with a quote from the CEO of Prestige Motor Companies out in Miami, Florida. I don't remember what book I was reading. I think it was one of these. Yep, Inside the Circle by Andy Albright. That's what I was reading, and I got that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So if you're taking notes, grab something. If not, if you're driving, maybe pull over if you can take some notes, whatever. So when you own a business, it's really important to have a business plan, right? And there's a lot of folks in our profession that don't go into this with any sort of a real plan, okay? But it's important to have a business plan with written daily activities so you can have a clear and concise vision of what it is that you're doing and where you're going. Your written business plan of activities or daily method of operations, it's also going to dramatically help with the process of duplication, which is all important. Duplication is the essence of network marketing professionals. Okay, but it's going to help with duplication tremendously, which is really important if you get into this with the same sort of expectation that I did, which is to one day be able to retire, or at least have that option. It helps with duplication because you can pass along your system of what it is that you actually do every day. You can actually explain to somebody. Now, remember this, a confused mind does nothing, right? But I found that if most people, okay, if they have a very specific, clear, and concise direction, once they get started, they're way more likely to actually produce something. And it's so much more fun. They say it's fun when you win one, it's easy when you know how. Also, good communication is essential in a successful business relationship. It just is. It's so important. I know that Tim and Ann and myself, we've had this conversation, and Michael, we've had this conversation before about how communication it's important in any relationship. Husband and wife. If you're in a business, it's just important to have good communication. Good communication, it cuts down on frustration and it helps expedite the activities that lead to a successful organization. Okay, good communication from both the new person as well as their sponsor. So important. It's absolutely imperative. So here's the 5 essentials that I came up with for an ultra successful network marketing business that'll just make your life way, way easier and way more fun. Okay. Like I said, it's fun when you win one and it's easy when you know how. Okay. So, number one, we're going to say essential number one is write out or type out your quick start information. This is good to have, especially if you just started in the business. It's good to have. And this really starts with your list. I know I was talking to someone the other day and they had just started in a new company and they were like, I've been a 6-figure earner before, but I want some advice. I want some guidance. Talk to me like I'm a brand new person. How would you do it? I said, well, last time I was in the field, I joined on a Thursday. Thursday night, I sat down and I wrote out 600 names. I got my social media out, my phone, 600 names of people I had to get this in front of. I divided it up like this, but step one was my list. And they said, oh, you're old school. And I'm like, no, that's step one. You got to have it. 4 or 5 people tell you no, and you don't have your list together, you get a little discouraged. You got 600 names down there. You're like, oh, I got to get busy because I got 595 more people to talk to. Okay, so your quick start information is going to consist of a few things like, as I mentioned, your list, your company info, like your website, your login credentials, your links. I usually have all that on a notepad on my phone so I can copy it, paste it, and send it if I need to. Your upline and support contacts, phone number and email. And it's good for you to have not just your upline, but a couple people that you can call on, because I know how busy some of you all get. Some of the folks with organizations, I know how busy you can get. And if you just call me out of the blue, there's like a 90% chance I'm not going to be able to answer immediately, right? I'll text you and say, hey, I'm on a Zoom, hey, I'm on a call. I should be wrapped up in about 10 minutes or whatever the case may be. But if you can text like 15, 20 minutes in advance, I can usually drop what I'm doing for the most part. And that's the same with most upline, or crossline or anybody that has an organization. So it's good to have their support, their upline, all their contact information, phone number, email, all that stuff. Another thing that I would say would be in the quick start info or you're getting started is a tour of your back office. It's really good for you to just take some time, familiarize yourself with a back office. I get customer service phone calls to my cell phone, and it's sometimes as simple as they just didn't know where to look in their back office. So when you first get signed up, you can just take 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and just familiarize yourself with the back office. That's really a part of getting started. There's 2 types of time in network marketing: preparation time and production time. This is part of the preparation time, is just getting familiar with your back office. Another thing that is important in this quick start is a detailed goal sheet, short, mid, long-term goals. What are you going for? And these are things that should be selfish. This should be something that, you really want, you can feel it, like hitting, if I were just getting started, one of my first goals would be to get binary qualified within X number of time. I would say within the first 24 hours, you might say the first week, whatever the case may be. Getting binary qualified is a great first goal to have. And then, write out how you plan on attaining that goal. But get very, very specific in goal setting. And you want to have that short, mid, long-term goals, the big, hairy, audacious goals. Me personally, I set a daily goal. One of my daily goals always is to get everything on my to-do list knocked out, right? So you just want to make sure that you have that definite direction, okay? Because you show me a person with goals, I'll show you a person I don't have to motivate. But if you show me a person without goals, I'll show you a person I can't motivate, okay? That's how important they are. The second essential I'll talk about is to get all the way plugged in. Okay, get and stay all the way plugged in, and make sure your people are too. If you add your people to the Zealous Official Facebook group and make sure you tag them in the announcement post with the weekly call schedule, that's a great way to start. Some folks don't even know this Zoom exists. right? We've got like 1,600 people in the Zealous official group, and there's 27 on, so I mean, it would be good if they knew about it. And I know for a fact some of them don't, because whenever I talk to folks, they have no idea sometimes. So if you would just add them to the Zealous official Facebook group, make sure to tag them in the announcement post that has the weekly call schedule. That would just be a great way to start. If for whatever reason you're not adding people to that group, then just make sure you communicate the information. It's on a little flyer, make sure you communicate all information if you don't want to add them to the official group. But it's always good for people to be fully plugged in with the company stuff in addition to your team stuff, for sure. And we've got a lot of announcements that are going to be flying out of corporate very quickly over the course of the next 60 days. There's going to be a lot. And, your upline, your master distributor, your leadership team can disseminate that information, but it's always good to be plugged in with the Zealous official Facebook group and plugged in with whatever corporate's got going on as well. The third essential that I'll give you is plan your launch. Okay, one of the greatest builders that I've ever seen, he described in GoPro, one of Eric Worre's deals, one of his events. He described one time how he launched his business, right? And he made $26,000 in his first week, and all these crazy numbers, right? And it created a story that built an entire company that today is one of the juggernauts of the network marketing space. And I took copious notes, right? Too many people just join a company, but they never launch their business. Remember this: amateurs join a business, professionals launch a business. Apple launched the iPhone. Microsoft launched the Xbox. If you want great notes, or if you want a great example of launching, watch Christmas. I love how they start putting out teasers, and I mean, they launch Christmas. Christmas is an amazing example of how people launch. Now, I'm not going to get too detailed on how to launch a business right now, but I will say that I typically like to get a 3-way call done with a new person within the first 24 hours, for sure, and plan their launch call or their launch for them within their first few days of their business, their first week at least. This all-out massive action, it helps to do a lot of things for your business. Number one is it raises belief levels through the roof. Whenever they get their first couple of business partners, first couple of customers, they make their first paycheck, their belief level it goes through the roof, right? Get some money in their pocket. It shows you, shows that you're serious whenever you do that massive action initially. It creates excitement, not just with you, but the whole company wide. But most importantly, is it creates a story. And it's a story that you can share for your whole career if it's executed well. You want to capitalize on that excitement people feel when they first join, or else that law of diminishing intent sets in. The law of diminishing intent states that the longer it takes us to do something we say we're going to do, the less likely we are to actually do it, right? And I was in Eric Worre's Beyond Leadership training, which is just for multiple 6- and 7-figure earners. And I went there with the intent of taking good notes to create a course based off of his stuff, because it's $10,000 a seat, right? And not everyone's going to pay 10 grand a seat. So I was taking notes, and he said a lot. One thing he said was that if you get someone a paycheck within their first 30 days, you bought yourself another 90 days with that person. It's just so important to launch initially, right? Number 4, the essential number 4, write out your daily method of operations. Now, this is very important to know and be crystal clear on what you're doing, okay? Just like any business, you want to be successful, right? You want to plan your work and work your plan. You need to know what you're doing every day, If I have a donut shop, it's very clear. I'm, open the doors, make the donuts, get them out. It's very clear what I do, right? And you need to plan your work and work your plan each day. You got to know what you're doing. Your daily method of operations should consist of a few things, and we'll go over some real quickly. Is number one is to be conscious of your time. Okay, just knowing what time you have to devote to the business, to building. I think that's the first step in really knowing what to do with that time. Some of you have seen my 4 questions, which is usually part of my getting started system. And 2 of those questions have to do with how much time do you have and what can you do in that time. So just being conscious of, hey, from today, from 2 to 5, I have that time available, right? And then knowing what to do in that time. Let's talk about that. Once you're aware of what time you have, you need to be concentrating on a few activities. Number one is reaching out to folks to pique their interest. And that means having a conversation. That means, we're in the relationship business, right? We build, develop, and nurture relationships. And maybe one day you can harvest that in the form of a business partnership. If not, I know that I've got friends that I've never done any sort of business with, but we're actually friends all over the world. For me, just doing this first step is reaching out to folks to pique their interest. And that may mean having a conversation and that sort of thing. So that's one thing that we do. I think we spend probably over half our time piquing interest. That's probably the biggest thing that we do. I would say piquing interest and following up, right? Another thing that would be in your daily method of operations is putting people in front of the information. You want to pique their interest, get them just interested enough to where they're willing to look at the information, right? Pique their interest, not satisfy their interest, and then send them to the information, whether that be, a recorded presentation, whether that be a live presentation, whatever the case may be. You're the messenger, not the message. Okay, so putting people in front of that information, it's definitely part of the DMO, right? The daily method of operations. Another thing that you'll want to do is setting those follow-up appointments, building in the field, looking at your schedule and just trying to fill that schedule with follow-up appointments. Man, to me, that's so much fun. Reaching out to people to pique their interest, getting them interested, that's exciting. Getting them in front of the information, exciting. Setting all those follow-up appointments, to me, that's the most exciting part of it, because at that point in time, whenever I'm reaching out to them, I get to figure out whether I'm going to have a new business partner, a customer, or someone on my follow-up list, right? And I keep track of all those people. Following up is another very important thing. So if you're writing things down, that's the next thing to write down is following up. Doing 3-way calls, I still like doing. It's 2021 and 3-way calls, they work just as good as they did in 1991. Whether you want to do it over the phone, over Zoom, some people just do it through Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, whatever the case may be. I still like to get on the phone, and if I can, get on a Zoom with them. So one more thing in the daily method of operations that's very important is making new contacts, okay? Growing your network. That's something that if you're growing your network every single day, you're never going to say, I've ran out of people, which anytime anyone's ever said that they ran out of people to talk to, I said, okay, you've got 1,753 people on your Facebook friends list. Have you talked to every single one of them? Well, no. Well, you haven't ran out of people to talk to. Okay, so how many people on your phone? You've talked to every single one of them. The same gentleman I was telling you about that did the training on launching a business, he said that if you've got contacts in your phone that you can't talk to about your business, delete them. It's a very extreme way of thinking about things, but he was also making $1.6 million a month at the height of his career. Another thing that would be in your DMO is filling your calendar and thinking, and just thinking of how far you can fill out your calendar. I've got things that are in 2022 that are in my calendar, right? So I'm constantly trying to fill that calendar up. Always have been. That's been a big focus of mine. I just use Google Calendars. Um, it's one color for me, one color for my wife, one for my business manager, one for my virtual assistant. So I know who's put it on there, and you can. It's a really user friendly way that you can work your calendar. I really like it. So write this down if you're taking notes. Plan your work and work your plan. Okay. There's not really any secret sauce to it, really. It's just doing the work and being consistent. Consistency is key. Another thing that's important is daily personal development. That's another thing in your daily method of operations is daily personal development. For me, what that looks like is I'll get on YouTube and I'll look up Kyle Cease or Mel Robbins. Tony Robbins was a big one years ago that I used to look up all the time. Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. Just whoever it is that you want to learn from, and then just taking some quiet time for you, 20, 30 minutes, whatever you got, 15 minutes, and listening with the intent of taking some notes and finding some things that'll help you up your game, that'll change your life, that have that potential. If you're wanting a good social media presence or any sort of a good presence online, a huge key I can give you is that daily personal development. It's going to supply you with a seemingly endless amount of good content. So if you want to know where I get all my stuff from, like 99% of it is from my personal development. I think yesterday I made a post that came from John C. Maxwell's book, Today Matters. So the fifth essential that I'm going to give you, the final one that I'm going to give you, is be accountable. Be accountable. And this is a big one too. Now, you can either be accountable to yourself, or what's actually even better is to get an accountability partner. But let's get specific on what do you want to be accountable for? When someone is wanting to be an accountability partner with me, I have them text 3 numbers each night before they go to bed. And if I wake up and they haven't texted them, I'm hitting them up. Hey, I need my numbers, right? So there's 3 numbers. Number 1 is how many new connections they made with an ice-breaking conversation. I know that if they're expanding their network and just having an ice-breaking conversation, they've got people to talk to, right? I didn't say a conversation necessarily about their business, just an ice-breaking conversation. I want them growing their network, having an ice-breaking conversation. The second number is how many people they put in front of the information with an appointment to follow up. If they don't have an appointment to follow up, they don't count it. Okay. So if you have that person you've gotten in front of the information and you have an appointment to follow up, then that's something that they're growing their business. Those exposures are ever so important. And the third number is how many people they put in a decision-making situation. Basically, how many people they followed up with and put in some sort of a decision-making situation, like attempted to close. Okay. So I know that if they're doing these 3 things, I know that their business is growing. I know that for a fact. These 3 things, these 3 numbers, if they text me before they go to sleep, we both sleep better because I know that they're going to be producing. Okay. So let's recap these 5 essentials real quick before we wrap up this Zoom. The 5 essentials that you need to keep in mind in order to have an ultra successful network marketing organization. By the way, these aren't all encompassing. There's other things that could be beneficial and essential for this list as well. But number 1 is write out or type out your quick start info, right? It's good to have that understanding of where to go to for all the different things that encompass your business. Number 2 is get all the way plugged in. You got to stay plugged in. You got to get plugged in, stay plugged in. You got to make sure that your people are plugged in. I have a lot of times. So if I'm building in the field, I know that not only am I going to text all my personals whenever it's something important, like the motivational Zoom starting in 30 minutes, or the opportunity overview is tonight at 8 o'clock with Ann and Brandy. Make sure you be on there with at least 2 guests. And I'll text them an hour before. Still got time to get another guest or 2. Okay. Not only will I text them, I'll have a personal messenger chat, and I'll make a post or tag them in a post that's in the group. Make sure I have 2 or 3 layers of accountability right there. Right. Number three is plan your launch. You know, I'm big on making sure that you have an initial massive amount of action, like this initial surge of energy in a launch initially. That way you have that story. It raises your belief. People see you, you know, you stick your head up and you're visible, right? I call it a map, a massive action plan. Number four is write out your daily method of operations. You got to know what you're doing every day. You got to have that clear understanding with what time you have and what you're doing with that time. Number five is be accountable. And one thing that I also like to do is whenever I have goals that I'm going to go after, like with my heart and soul, I share them with my family. I share them with my accountability partner. I might mess around and share them with all of y'all. So, I mean, it's something that once it's out there, now that helps hold me accountable. Okay. My challenge to you today is to keep these five essentials in front of you daily and use these five essentials to grade yourself and your business. Are you making a passing grade? If so, you'll have a good result, right? You'll have good results. But if not, you certainly won't. Okay. So simple challenge, you know, right, is to keep those in front of you. Are you up for that challenge? Now, finally, while we wrap this up, two things. One, make sure you have some people on tonight's Zoom. Let's pack that Zoom tonight. We've got some incredible people on. Miss Ann Feinstein, Brandy Shaver. We'll have some great testimonials. That's part of what we do. I'm going to see you on there. I'll have guests on there. And also, I want you to write this down if you're taking notes before we wrap up this call, okay? And I want you to keep this somewhere. If you have Post-it notes, I've got a whole bunch of Post-it notes here in my office. If you've got Post-it notes, write this down and keep it somewhere where you can see it. Not just today, but for forever. This is something that I read in Andy Albright's book, Inside the Circle, okay? Today is an opportunity for you to grow in a major way. Don't take it for granted. Don't waste it. I'll say this one more time. Today is an opportunity for you to grow in a major way. Don't take it for granted. Don't waste it. Appreciate you, Zealous. Love you from the bottom of my heart. I mean it. I'll see you guys tonight at 8 o'clock on the Zoom with Ann and Brandy. Have a good one. Make today make a difference.